Okay, finally, questions 9 and 10. They involve the binomial distribution um, formula. The first one says the percentage of husbands and wives who vote for the same presidential candidate is about 74.3%. So if 7 couples are selected at random, find the binomial probability that the number of couples that have voted for the same presidential candidate is less than 4. Well, I I wrote out the P of 0 plus P of 1 plus P of 2, etc., all the way up to probability of 7, because there are 7 um, trials. And I did that so that so that I could once again um, show you where we're going to cut this off so that we can decide what our number of successes is going to be. I recommend you do this on the exam. You'll have plenty of room to write. And so you'll put P of 0 all the way up to P of whatever n is, however many trials there are. Well, we're asking the probability that the number of couples that have voted for the same presidential candidate is less than 4. Well, what's less than 4? 3 is less than 4. So is 2, so is 1, so is 0. 4 is not. So I put this double stripe right here to show this is where we're cutting this list of probabilities off. And so that means that just to the left of that, the probability in question is the probability of 3 successes, and so that means that x is 3 when we enter this into Excel or a TI calculator. So I've identified in the number of trials as 7, and x is the number of successes is 3. That's this 3 here. And the probability of success is 0.743. Now, if you want to use the formula, you'll need Q, and Q in that case is Q is always 1 minus P, and that in this case is 1 minus 0.743, which is 0.257. Now, if you enter this into Excel, in some cell that seems convenient, type equal, BINOMDIST. It does not have to be uppercase. I use the uppercase just because I like the way it looks. And then a left parenthesis. Excel prompts you for the number of successes. It says number S. So the number of successes is 3. Type a comma. And then it will prompt you for the number of trials. The number of trials is 7, so type 7, put a comma. Prompts you for the probability of success. Probability of success is 0.743, so type that, put a comma, and then in the last entry, if you want the cumulative, you type a 1. If you don't, you type a 0. But we do in this case because we want the cumulative probabilities from 0 up to 3. So the cumulative gives you probability of 0 plus probability of 1 plus probability of 2 plus the probability of 3, because all of those meet the criteria that are requested. So you type all that in, and you'll get approximately 0.0772. Now, if your Excel spreadsheet has cells that are very narrow, you might not get as many decimal places as you would like. So all you have to do in that case is just grab the cell and or the column actually, and widen it, and you'll get more decimal places. The opposite will happen right here with column D. When I grab that edge of that column and close it, you see how this figure here, 1.0863, it rounds more and more. So it gets shorter and shorter. But if you want more decimal places, widen it until you get as many as you would like. So The answer to this question is 0.0772. Now in the last question we have to do pretty much the same thing, but we've got some extra work to do, which sounds like maybe this question ought to be worth a couple of more points, huh? So, maybe it will be. So, question 10 says a car insurance company has determined that 8% of all drivers were involved in a car accident last year. 20 drivers are randomly selected. What is N? What is P? N is the number of trials, and so that's 20. So N is 20. And the probability of success, even though we don't consider crashing our cars successful, the probability of success is 8%, which in decimal form is 0.08. What's the probability of having 3 or fewer people who were involved in a car accident last year if we randomly select 20? Well, we did. It says 20 drivers are randomly selected. What is the probability that 3 or fewer were involved in a car accident last year? Well, 3 or fewer is just exactly the same thing we did here in the prior example. 3 or fewer is 3 or 2 or 1 or 0. 4 is not fewer than 3. So it just so happens we cut this off at the same place. And so that makes our X number of successes 3. Again, type this into Excel, equal BINOMDIST, left parenthesis 3, comma, 20, comma, 0.08, comma, 1, because we do want the cumulative. If you wanted a probability of exactly a certain number, you would type 0. But we want the cumulative, so you type 1, a right parenthesis, and hit enter, and you get a probability approximately equal to 0.929. Now, out of 20 randomly selected drivers, what is the mean number who were involved in a car accident last year? To find that, we simply multiply the number of trials times the probability of success, N times P, 20 times 0.08, and that's 1.6. So that is the mean number we would expect who had a car accident if 20 were randomly selected. What is the standard deviation out of 20 randomly selected drivers who were involved in a car accident last year? Well, for this calculation we will need Q. We have P, but we will need Q. Q is 1 minus P. P is 0.08, so 1 minus 0.08 is 0.92. The standard deviation is going to be the square root of N, the number of trials, times P, the probability of success, times Q, the probability of failure. So the square root of 20 times 0.08 times 0.92 is the square root of 1.472, which is approximately equal to 1.213. You can round that to 1.2 if you want. That's fine. That's as far as we would need to round that. Finally, we're asked, out of 20 randomly selected drivers, use the minimum usual value and maximum usual value to determine whether it would be unusual to have exactly 6 drivers out of these 20 randomly selected who were involved in a car accident in the past year. Of course, the maximum usual is just as it was before, the mean plus 2 times the standard deviation. 1.16 is the mean, plus 2 times the standard deviation, 1.213. That adds up to 4.026. The minimum usual gives us a negative number. But 6 is more than 4, so it's outside the range of the usual values. So yes, that is unusual. 6 drivers would be unusual. Okay, I hope this has been helpful. That's the YouTube address of the first video, if it ever actually loads successfully. I'll post those, or I'll put the links up on our website as soon as I've got these finally all loaded up. So again, hope these are helpful. See you tomorrow.